Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Introduction. Welcome to Billionaire Mindset Audiobooks. Today, we bring you a complete audiobook summary of one of the most influential personal development books ever written, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Since its publication in 1989, this book has sold more than 40 million copies worldwide. It has transformed leaders, entrepreneurs, families, and individuals across the globe. Its message is timeless. True effectiveness comes not from quick tricks or shortcuts, but from living a principle-centered life. Before we dive into the 7 habits, Stephen Covey makes an important distinction between what he calls the personality ethic and the character ethic. For much of modern history, self-help advice has been based on personality, techniques, image, communication tricks, and manipulative skills. Covey calls this the personality ethic. It focuses on surface-level skills rather than deep change. By contrast, the character ethic is about building from the inside out. It is about principles such as integrity, humility, courage, fairness, honesty, and service. Covey argues that without strong character, personality techniques are empty. True and lasting success comes from who you are, not just what you say.
Covey also introduces the maturity continuum. Human growth, he explains, happens in 3 stages. First is dependence, where you rely on others for your needs. Then comes independence, where you learn to take responsibility for yourself. The highest stage is interdependence, where independent people work together, creating synergy and achieving far more than they could alone. The 7 habits are designed to guide you along this journey. Habits 1, 2, and 3 are about self-mastery, moving from dependence to independence. Habits 4, 5, and 6 are about working with others, building interdependence. Habit 7 sustains and renews all the others.
This book is not just theory. It is a roadmap for living with effectiveness and purpose. Let us now begin our journey, starting with Habit 1. Be proactive. To be proactive means to take responsibility for your own life. It means understanding that your life is not controlled by circumstances, conditions, or what other people do. It is controlled by your decisions.
Stephen Covey explains that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom to choose.
Most people live reactively. They say,
"There's nothing I can do. That's just how I am. He makes me so angry."
reactive people blame their environment, their genetics, their upbringing, or other people. They let circumstances dictate their moods and behaviors. Proactive people are different. They recognize that no matter what happens, they always have the power to choose their response.
Covey tells the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps. In the most brutal conditions imaginable, stripped of everything, Frankl realized that one freedom could never be taken away: the freedom to choose his attitude. Even in suffering, he chose dignity, meaning, and hope.
This is the essence of proactivity. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond that matters. Circle of concern versus circle of influence.
Covey introduces a powerful model: the circle of concern and the circle of influence. The circle of concern includes everything we care about but cannot directly control: the weather, the economy, politics, other people's choices. The circle of influence includes things we can control: our habits, our words, our actions, our responses.
Reactive people waste energy in the circle of concern. They complain about things they cannot change. Proactive people invest their energy in the circle of influence. They focus on what they can do today. And here's the secret. The more you focus on your circle of influence, the bigger it grows. You gain trust, confidence, and more opportunities. The language of proactivity.
Covey reminds us that our language reveals our mindset.
Reactive language. There's nothing I can do.
"That's just the way I am. He makes me so mad."
Proactive language.
I choose to. I will. I can do something about this.
Changing our words changes our mindset. Instead of saying, I have to go to work, say, I choose to go to work because I value providing for my family. This small shift creates a powerful sense of control and ownership. Responsibility equals response plus ability. The word responsibility means the ability to choose your response. You may not control what others say about you, but you control whether you let it define you. You may not control the economy, but you control how you prepare and adapt. You may not control every situation, but you control your choices, your actions, and your attitude. Proactivity is not about predicting the future, it's about preparing for it by taking charge of the present. Practical ways to be proactive. Pause before reacting. When something upsets you, stop and remember, you always have a choice. Focus on influence. Write down your worries. Separate them into your circle of concern and your circle of influence. Act only on what you can influence. Change your language. Replace I can't with I choose. Take small initiatives. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start where you are. Do one proactive act every day. A story of proactivity. Imagine two employees at the same company. One constantly complains,
The boss is unfair. The pay is too low. Nothing will change.
the other says,
I can't control the boss, but I can improve my skills, take initiative, and look for opportunities.
A year later, the first employee is still stuck, bitter, and frustrated. The second has grown, earned promotions, and is respected by colleagues. Same environment, different choices. One reactive, one proactive. Conclusion of Habit 1. Habit 1, be proactive, is the habit of personal responsibility. It is the recognition that you are the creator of your life. If you want to change your situation, start by changing yourself. If you want to change yourself, start by changing your habits.
As Covey says, I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions.
This is where effectiveness begins. Now that we have mastered responsibility, let us move to Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. If Habit 1 was about taking responsibility, Habit 2 is about having vision. It's about knowing where you are going so that every step you take is in the right direction.
Covey says, all things are created twice, first in the mind, then in reality.
Think about it. An architect designs a building on paper before construction begins. A writer imagines the story before writing the words. A business leader creates a vision before launching a company. If you don't create the mental blueprint, you risk building a life that does not match your true desires. You may climb the ladder of success, only to find it leaning against the wrong wall. The funeral exercise.
Covey gives us a powerful thought experiment. Imagine attending your own funeral. Picture your family, your friends, your coworkers, your community. What would you want them to say about you? As a spouse? As a parent? As a friend? As a professional? As a human being?
This exercise shifts your perspective. It makes you realize that life is not about reacting to the moment, but about designing your destiny. By visualizing the end, you clarify your values and priorities. Suddenly, distractions lose their power because you know what truly matters. Personal leadership versus management.
Covey distinguishes between management and leadership. Management is about efficiency, doing things right. Leadership is about effectiveness, doing the right things. Habit 2 is about leadership. It ensures you are climbing the right mountain before you invest years climbing it.
Too many people manage their schedules efficiently, but they never ask,
Is this the right direction for my life?
vision comes before efficiency. Purpose comes before progress. Mission statement.
Covey encourages us to create a personal mission statement. A mission statement is your compass. It guides your decisions when life becomes confusing. It is a written declaration of your values, vision, and purpose. Your mission statement may include what you value most, the principles you will live by, the legacy you want to leave. For example, to live with integrity, to inspire others through kindness, and to leave the world better than I found it.
Organizations have mission statements. Families can have them too, and individuals need them most of all. When you have a mission statement, you stop drifting and start designing. Examples of end-in-mind thinking. Great leaders and innovators practiced habit 2. Walt Disney visualized Disneyland years before it was built. When people doubted him, he replied, "I've already seen it." Elon Musk envisioned reusable rockets long before SpaceX succeeded. Oprah Winfrey dreamed of a platform to inspire millions when she was still a small-town news anchor. They all began with the end in mind. Practical applications of Habit 2. Write your mission statement. Take time to write a short statement that reflects your values and vision. Use the funeral exercise. Ask, "What do I want people to remember about me?" Then live accordingly. Visualize the result before acting. Whether it's a project, a meeting, or a conversation, picture the desired outcome before starting. Align daily actions with long-term goals. Make sure today's actions bring you closer to the future you desire. A story of Habit 2. Imagine two people going on a road trip. One has a map and a destination. The other just starts driving without a plan. The first person may face traffic or detours, but eventually they'll reach the destination. The second may drive fast, but without direction, they may end up nowhere. This is the difference between living reactively and living with the end in mind. Conclusion of Habit 2. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind, is the habit of vision and purpose. It reminds us that success is not about speed, but direction. As Covey said, management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. When you live with the end in mind, every decision becomes easier because you measure it against your ultimate purpose. Now that we have vision, we can move to action. Habit 3 will show us how to translate vision into daily priorities. Let us continue with Habit 3. Put first things first. If Habit 1 was about responsibility and Habit 2 about vision, Habit 3 is about discipline and execution. Covey explains that put first things. First is the habit of organizing and acting on your priorities. It's not enough to dream. It's not enough to visualize. We must act. And not just act, but act on what matters most. The urgency addiction. Most people live their lives chasing urgency. They respond to emails, deadlines, phone calls, notifications. They are always busy, always running, always reacting. But busyness is not the same as effectiveness. You can be very busy climbing a ladder, only to find out at the end that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Habit 3 is about breaking free from the urgency trap and focusing on the important. The time management matrix. Covey introduces one of his most famous tools, the time management matrix. All activities in life fall into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, urgent and important. Crises, emergencies, last-minute deadlines. These cannot be ignored, but if you live here constantly, you'll always feel stressed and reactive. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. Planning, relationship building, exercise, learning, self-care, prevention. These are the activities that create long-term success, but because they are not urgent, most people neglect them. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. Interruptions, some calls, unnecessary meetings. These feel urgent but add little value. Quadrant 4, not urgent and not important. Time wasters, excessive entertainment, mindless scrolling. These give temporary relief but steal your life. Covey's insight is powerful. Average people live in quadrants 1 and 3, reacting to crises and distractions. Highly effective people invest most of their time in quadrant 2, planning, preparing, building relationships, developing themselves. Quadrant 2 is where success is created, priorities versus pressure. Covey says, the key is not to prioritize your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. This means you don't start with a list of everything you could do and then try to squeeze in what matters. You start with what matters and build your life around it. For example, if health is a priority, schedule exercise first. If family is a priority, schedule time with them first. If learning is a priority, schedule daily reading. Life will always present distractions, but when your big rocks are scheduled, the sand and pebbles will fit around them. The Big Rocks story. Covey often used the Big Rocks demonstration. A professor shows a jar and fills it with large rocks. Then he adds pebbles, then sand, then water. Everything fits. But if he starts with sand and pebbles, the big rocks will never fit. The lesson: if you don't put your big rocks, your true priorities, into your life first, they will never fit later. Courage to say no. Habit. 3 requires courage. The courage to say no. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something important. This may mean saying no to constant interruptions, no to social pressure, no to activities that drain your energy without serving your goals. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. Independence to interdependence. Habit 3 is also the bridge between independence and interdependence. By mastering self-management, putting first things first, you become reliable. Others can trust you because your actions align with your values. This foundation of trust is what allows you to succeed with others in Habits 4, 5, and 6. Practical applications of Habit 3. Weekly planning. Every week, review your roles: parent, professional, friend, learner, and set priorities in each role. Daily focus. Choose your top 3 priorities each day. Accomplish them before distractions take over. Quadrant 2. Time. Protect time for exercise, learning, planning, and relationships. Use no wisely. Decline tasks that don't align with your vision and mission. Review your big rocks. Regularly ask, are my actions aligned with what matters most? A story of Habit 3 in action. Imagine 2 students. Both want good grades. The first student spends nights cramming, always stressed, always behind. He focuses on Quadrant 1, urgent deadlines. The second student plans ahead, studies consistently, asks questions, and builds relationships with professors. She spends time in Quadrant 2. At the end of the semester, both pass. But one is exhausted, while the other is prepared, confident, and balanced. That is the difference between living reactively and living by Habit 3. Conclusion of Habit 3. Habit 3, put first things first, is about discipline and execution. It teaches us that life is not about busyness, but about priorities. It's not about saying yes to everything, but about saying yes to the right things. As Covey says, things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. With this foundation, we can now move from independence to interdependence, from self-mastery to working effectively with others. That brings us to Habit 4, think win-win. The first 3 habits focused on personal mastery, taking responsibility, creating vision, and managing priorities. Now we move to interdependence, how we work with others. Habit 4 is about creating agreements and relationships that are mutually beneficial. Covey explains that in human interactions, there are 6 possible paradigms. Win-lose, I win, you lose. Lose. Win, I lose, you win. Lose, lose, nobody wins. Win, I win, and I don't care about you. Win-win or no deal. If both can't benefit, we walk away. Win-win. We both win, both benefit, both succeed. Out of all these paradigms, win-win creates the most trust, the most collaboration, and the most sustainable success. Win-lose and lose-win. Win-lose thinking comes from competition and ego. It says, for me to succeed, you must fail. This works in sports, but destroys trust in relationships, marriages, and business partnerships. Lose-win thinking is people-pleasing. It says, I'll give in, I'll sacrifice, I'll let you win so that you're happy. But over time, this builds resentment and weakens self-respect. Both win-lose and lose-win are short-term, fragile, and destructive. Lose-lose and win. Lose-lose is when 2 stubborn people clash. Neither compromises, neither wins, both suffer. The win paradigm says, I win and I don't care about you. This is independence without interdependence. It produces isolation, not partnership. Win-win. Win-win says, let's find a way where both of us succeed. Let's create solutions where we both walk away better. Win-win is not about being nice. It's about being fair. It requires strength and consideration. It's built on 3 character traits: integrity, staying true to your values; maturity, balancing courage and consideration; abundance, mentality, believing there is enough success for everyone; scarcity versus abundance, mindset. Covey contrasts the scarcity mindset with the abundance mindset. The scarcity mindset believes life is a zero-sum game. If you win, I lose. If you succeed, it threatens me. The abundance mindset believes there is plenty for everyone. Your success does not diminish mine. Effective people think abundantly. They celebrate others' success. They collaborate instead of competing unnecessarily. They believe in creating bigger pies, not fighting over small slices, win-win or no deal. Sometimes win-win isn't possible. In such cases, Covey recommends win-win or no deal. This means if both sides cannot benefit, we choose not to move forward. This approach creates trust. People know you will never manipulate or exploit them. You either both win or you walk away. Examples of win-win. In business, Warren Buffett invests only in deals where both he and the company's leaders benefit. In marriage, couples who think win-win look for compromises that make both partners happy instead of keeping score. In leadership, great leaders empower their teams, creating success that uplifts everyone, not just themselves. Practical applications of Habit 4. Look for mutual benefit. In every negotiation, ask, how can we both win? Celebrate others. Practice abundance by genuinely celebrating the success of others. Create agreements. Build relationships on trust, fairness, and clear expectations. Use win-win or no deal. Don't trap others or yourself in lose-lose situations. A story of win-win. 2 children fight over an orange. Their mother splits it in half. Each child gets half, a compromise, but not a win-win. Why? Because one wanted the juice, the other wanted the peel for baking. If they had sought to understand each other, one could have had all the juice and the other all the peel. Both would have won completely. This is the power of win-win, looking deeper for solutions where everyone benefits. Conclusion of Habit 4. Habit 4, think win-win, is the habit of abundance and fairness. It reminds us that life is not about your win or my win. It's about creating our win. With this foundation of mutual benefit, we now move to the next habit, communication. Because before we can build great relationships, we must learn to listen. That is the principle of Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is one of the most important habits in the entire book. Covey calls it the key to effective communication, the foundation of relationships, leadership, and influence. Most people think communication is about speaking well, but the truth is, effective communication starts with listening well. Covey says,
Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply.
instead of truly hearing the other person, we are preparing our response, passing judgment, or waiting for our turn to speak. This leads to misunderstandings, conflict, and shallow relationships. Habit 5 teaches us to practice empathic listening, listening with the intent to understand, not to reply. The doctor analogy. Covey uses a powerful analogy. Imagine going to a doctor with severe pain. Before you even finish explaining, the doctor writes a prescription and says, "Take these pills." Would you trust that doctor? Of course not. The doctor never diagnosed your problem. Yet this is how most of us communicate. We prescribe advice before we diagnose understanding. Habit 5 reminds us, diagnose before you prescribe. Listen before you speak. Levels of listening. There are several levels of listening. Ignoring, not listening at all. Pretending, nodding but not paying attention. Selective listening, hearing only what you want to hear. Attentive listening, paying attention to the words. Empathic listening, listening with the intent to truly understand feelings, perspectives, and meaning. Empathic listening is not about agreeing with the person. It's about entering their world, seeing through their eyes, and making them feel understood. When people feel understood, they lower their defenses. They open up. they become more willing to listen to you in return. Why empathic listening matters. Human beings crave to be understood. It is a deep psychological need. When you listen empathically, you give people emotional oxygen, you build trust, you influence without force. This habit is critical in families, friendships, leadership, and negotiations. Seek first to understand. The first half of Habit 5 is about understanding others before trying to be understood yourself. Ask questions, reflect what you hear, show empathy. For example, so what you're saying is, it sounds like you're feeling. This does not mean you agree. It means you care enough to understand. When people feel understood, they are more open to hearing your perspective. Then, to be understood. The second half of Habit 5 is expressing yourself clearly and respectfully, once the other person feels understood. Covey emphasizes the power of ethos, pathos, and logos, principles from Aristotle. Ethos, your credibility and character. Pathos, the emotional connection you create. Logos, the logic and reason of your message. When you build trust, ethos, and connection, pathos, people are far more likely to accept your logic. Logos. A story of Habit 5. Covey shares a story of a father and teenage son. The father feels the son is lazy and irresponsible. The son feels misunderstood and pressured. In most conversations, the father lectures, and the son shuts down. But when the father practices empathic listening, everything changes. Instead of criticizing, he listens. You feel like I don't trust you? You feel pressured when I push you? The son opens up, explains his struggles, and for the first time they have a real conversation. When the father truly understands, the son becomes more open to his guidance. This is the power of Habit 5. Practical applications of Habit 5. Listen with empathy. Before replying, ask yourself, do I understand this person's perspective? Reflect back. Repeat in your own words what the other person said. Resist the urge to interrupt. Don't jump in with advice too soon. Build trust. Make people feel safe to open up. Express yourself clearly. Once you understand, share your perspective respectfully and confidently. A real-world example. In business, the best negotiators are often the best listeners. They don't rush to push their offer. They first seek to understand the other party's needs, fears, and goals. By listening deeply, they often discover creative solutions that satisfy both sides, which is exactly what we will explore in Habit 6. Conclusion of Habit 5. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood, is the habit of empathic communication. It reminds us, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When you practice this habit, conflicts turn into cooperation, arguments turn into dialogue, and relationships transform. With this foundation of deep communication, we are ready for the next habit. Habit 6, Synergize. This is the habit of creative cooperation, working together in ways that produce outcomes greater than the sum of their parts. Covey describes synergy with a simple formula: 1 + 1 = 3 or more. When people truly cooperate, valuing each other's differences and strengths, they create solutions that none of them could have created alone. What synergy is, and what it isn't. Synergy is not compromise. In compromise, each side gives up something. In synergy, each side gains something more than they expected. For example, in compromise, 2 people each get half of what they want. In synergy, they create a third option that satisfies them both more fully. Synergy is not about sameness. It thrives on differences. Valuing differences. Most people fear differences. They see them as threats. But Habit 6 teaches us to celebrate differences. Different perspectives, backgrounds, and talents are not obstacles. They are opportunities. Covey says, when 2 people agree all the time, one of them is unnecessary. Strength comes from diversity. Innovation comes from multiple perspectives. Billionaires and visionary leaders understand this. They build diverse teams because they know breakthroughs rarely come from echo chambers. The foundation of synergy. Synergy is built on trust and open-mindedness. It requires high trust. People must feel safe to share their true ideas. Respect, valuing other perspectives, even if they conflict with your own. Communication, practicing habit 5, empathic listening. Without trust, differences lead to conflict. With trust, differences lead to creativity. A story of synergy. Two business partners disagree on strategy. One wants to expand aggressively. The other wants to consolidate and strengthen existing operations. If they compromise, they might expand halfway, satisfying no one fully. But through open discussion, they realize they can first strengthen operations in key markets, which will naturally create resources for future expansion. Together, they create a solution better than either original idea. That is synergy in action. Synergy in nature. Nature is full of synergy. Bees pollinate flowers while gathering nectar. Both species thrive. Different trees in a forest share nutrients through underground root systems, strengthening the ecosystem. Even the human body is synergistic. Individual organs cannot survive alone, but together they create life. Synergy is the principle of cooperation embedded in creation itself. Synergy in families and teams. In families, synergy happens when parents value their children's unique personalities instead of forcing conformity. It happens when spouses combine their strengths instead of competing. In teams, synergy happens when each member contributes their unique talents. Instead of everyone trying to be the same, each plays their role, like instruments in an orchestra, creating harmony together. The third alternative. Covey introduces the idea of the third alternative. When people disagree, they often see only two choices, my way or your way. But through synergy, they discover a third way, an alternative that is better than either original proposal. This requires humility, openness, and creativity, but when achieved, it builds unity and trust. Practical applications of Habit 6. Value differences. See diversity of thought as an asset, not a threat. Practice empathic listening. Build trust so people feel safe sharing ideas. Look for the third alternative. When faced with conflict, ask, is there a better solution that we haven't considered? Encourage collaboration. Create environments where people's strengths complement each other. Conclusion of Habit 6. Habit 6, Synergize, is the habit of creative cooperation. It reminds us that together we can achieve more than we could ever achieve alone. As Covey says, synergy is not just teamwork. It is the creation of new, better realities. With synergy, 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or 100. Now, we come to the final habit, the one that sustains all the others. Habit 7. Sharpen the Saw. This habit is about renewal, taking time to regularly strengthen and refresh yourself so you can remain effective in the long run. Covey tells the story of a man sawing down a tree. He is exhausted, struggling, and making little progress. When someone suggests he sharpen the saw, he replies, I don't have time to sharpen the saw. I'm too busy sawing. The irony is clear. If he took time to sharpen the saw, his work would be faster and easier. We are the same. We work, push, hustle, and grind. But without renewal, our effectiveness dulls. Habit 7 reminds us that self-care is not selfish. It is essential. The 4 dimensions of renewal. Covey identifies 4 key areas we must renew regularly: physical renewal, exercise, nutrition, rest, and stress management. Without physical health, all other areas suffer. Leaders like Richard Branson emphasize fitness because they know a strong body fuels a strong mind. Mental renewal, reading, learning, writing, creative thinking. Billionaires like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates dedicate hours each week to reading and reflection. Continuous learning keeps the mind sharp. Emotional and social renewal, building meaningful relationships, practicing empathy, serving others. Human connection is emotional fuel. Without it, even great achievements feel empty. Spiritual renewal, reflection, meditation, prayer, aligning with deeper values. This provides grounding, direction, and peace in a noisy world. When we sharpen all 4 dimensions, we live with balance and sustainability. Balance creates effectiveness. Renewal is not about indulgence or escape. It is about balanced investment in yourself. When you exercise, you gain energy that improves work and relationships. When you read, you expand your thinking and strengthen empathy. When you connect with loved ones, you build emotional resilience. When you reflect spiritually, you align with your deepest values. Each area of renewal strengthens the others. This balance is what keeps you effective. Why people neglect renewal. Many people neglect sharpening the saw because they say, "I don't have time." But the truth is, not sharpening the saw costs more time. Burnout, illness, poor decisions, broken relationships, these are the results of neglect. Covey reminds us, sharpening the saw is what gives you time, energy, and effectiveness. Practical ways to sharpen the saw. Exercise regularly. Even a daily walk can sharpen your physical saw. Read and learn daily. Commit to lifelong learning. Connect with people. Build deep, meaningful relationships. Take time for reflection. Journal, meditate, pray, or simply sit in silence. Review your life. Ask, am I living in alignment with my mission? A story of renewal. A corporate executive worked 80-hour weeks, chasing success, but neglecting health and family. Eventually, he collapsed from exhaustion. Only after taking time for renewal, exercising, spending time with loved ones, reflecting on values, did he regain balance. His work improved, his relationships deepened, and his health returned. He realized sharpening the saw made him not weaker, but stronger. Conclusion of Habit 7. Habit 7, sharpen the saw, is the habit of renewal. It reminds us that effectiveness is not about running endlessly, but about balancing, resting, and renewing. Without renewal, we burn out. With renewal, we grow stronger. This is the habit that sustains all the others. Conclusion and final lessons. We have now completed our journey through the 7 habits of highly effective people. Let us review. Habit 1. Be proactive, take responsibility. Between stimulus and response lies your freedom to choose. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Live with vision. Define your destination before you begin the journey. Habit 3. Put first things first. Live by priorities, not by pressures. Schedule your big rocks first. Habit 4. Think win-win. Build relationships of mutual benefit. Success is sweeter when shared. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen with empathy before you speak. Communication begins with understanding. Habit 6. Synergize. Value differences, build trust, and create third alternatives better than either original idea. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Continuously renew yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Covey's message is simple yet profound. True effectiveness comes from building character, aligning with principles, and living a balanced life. The 7 habits are not quick tricks. They are timeless principles. They are habits that, once practiced, transform individuals, families, organizations, and even societies. As you reflect on these habits, ask yourself, which habit do I already practice well? Which habit must I strengthen? What small step can I take today to begin living more effectively? Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Effectiveness is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about progress, balance, and alignment with values. Stephen Covey reminds us, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Your destiny begins with your habits. Thank you for listening to Billionaire Mindset Audiobooks. Subscribe and continue your journey with us as we bring you wisdom from the greatest books ever written. Stay proactive, live with vision, put first things first, think win-win, seek first to understand, synergize, and always sharpen the saw. This is the path to true effectiveness, lasting success, and a meaningful life.